Hi, this is Dr. S, and this video is about the nomenclature of substituted aromatic compounds, which sounds complicated, but it's not that bad. Nomenclature means naming, so this is naming compounds that have benzenes in them. So before we go on to benzenes, let's have a bit of a recap from year 12. Here's an example compound. You should be able to name that compound after your year 12 studies. So please pause the video, have a go at naming it, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, so let's look at the key points when we're naming this molecule. You look for the longest chain first. Well, there are 5 carbons in the longest chain. There are no interesting functional groups that will come at the end of the name. So my stem is pentane. And then look for the substituents, the things that are coming off it, the branches. We have a methyl group and a bromo group. So we need to know where they are in the molecule. The next rule is to count from one end of the molecule so that the carbons that we are locating these substituents on have the lowest numbers. So in this case, I would count from the right hand side. That's carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can see that the methyl group is on carbon 2 and the bromo group is on carbon 3. The next rule is that we would put the substituents in alphabetical order in the name. So the bromo would come before the methyl. So my final name would be 3 bromo, 2 methyl pentane. Okay, let's now have a look at some aromatic compounds and see if we can translate that information to those. Okay, so I have 6 aromatic compounds on the screen for you. I'm going to do a couple of them and then I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try and work out the rest. Okay, so the first one, as we saw in the last video, is just simply benzene. Now what we might have is then something substituted onto that benzene. So here I have a methyl group substituted onto it. So this would be methyl benzene. Now as you go through the other 4, then you might run into situations where you have more than one substituent. You might have to use some numbering systems to show exactly where they are. So please have a go at the other 4, pause the video and come back when you're ready. Okay, this one here has a bromo group substituted onto the benzene. So this would be bromo benzene. This one here has 2 methyl groups. Now those 2 methyl groups could be located relative to each other in different positions. So now we have to specify exactly where they are. They are next to each other. So that means I can start counting at one of them and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So here this would be 1, 2, dimethyl benzene. On this next one, again I have 2 substituents. One's a chloro, one's a bromo. They're on, again, different positions, so you have to specify where they are. But in this case, what I can do is I can actually put one of them directly onto the name of the benzene. So I could say that it's based on bromobenzene. If I'm saying it's based on bromobenzene, that automatically makes that carbon attached to the bromine number 1. So that would be 2, that would be 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I could say is I could say that that's 3 chloro bromo benzene. I could of course do it the other way around, and that could be 3 bromo chlorobenzene too, and they would both be acceptable. On this final one, I have 4 methyl groups. I would still have to say exactly where they are. And I would start counting at one of the ones here to minimise the carbon numbers that I would use. So it might be, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, such as that. And my name, I'm going to struggle to fit this in, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, tetra, meaning 4, methyl benzene. That should be one word, I've just run out of paper. Okay. Now there are a few more difficult ones than this as well. So I'm going to highlight a couple of specific examples of more difficult structures that you may have to name and try and go through it. And then you can research it in your own time. So here are 2 more complicated ones to name. Now in both of these cases, we don't actually end the name with benzene. Our other option, rather than put benzene at the end of a name, is to use the benzene ring as a substituent itself. And as a substituent, that is given the name phenyl. So a benzene ring is a phenyl group. So you can use it just the same as a methyl or an ethyl or a propyl. It's a phenyl. It's much easier with this one to use it as a substituent, phenyl. Because if we look at this section, I have 2 carbons, so the stem would be eth, like ethyl, and I've got a ketone, so it would be ending -one. So here I've got a phenyl group, I've got 2 carbon chain, and I've got an -one. So this name would be phenyl ethanone. The phenyl group, the ethan bit from the chain, and the -one from the ketone. On this side, we have quite a complicated carbon chain substituted onto the benzene. So actually it makes more sense to use phenyl as a substituent, and it makes it slightly easier, because then the longest chain that I'll be naming is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a pentane, but I have a phenyl group as a substituent. I also have a methyl group on carbon 2. So this would be 2 methyl, 3 phenyl pentane. 2 for the methyl group, 3 for the phenyl group, pentane, and methyl comes before phenyl alphabetically. This will take quite a lot of practice to get used to, and there'll be lots of practice to be had in future videos. Okay, but for now, I'll leave you. My next video will start to look at the reactions of benzene and how we might produce some of the things that we've named in this video. Okay, thank you. I'll see you next time.